Put the 7-iron deck for the 1445 up on Sawhorses to do some work on it, fixing the caster wheels and stuff like that. And I get to thinking about it, it's like, you know, I put all these videos out there on the 1445 and they show how impressive it is. But I think it's really important at the same time to understand that owning one of these units is not for everyone. Certainly has its negatives. And I'm not complaining about the mower itself. I think it's fantastic, love it. It's the right machine for me. But if you have a couple acres to mow and you're thinking about going out and spending $5,000 to $15,000 on a used front mount, if you can buy a new one, that's fantastic for you. New ones run anywhere from $38,000 to $50,000 with a deck or more. But you're going to go out and you're going to buy a used front mount and you're going to love it. Well, this video is kind of one of those things. I wanted to just do it because I want to show you how much it costs to own one of these things and operate. Now, cost per hour to operate on overall volume and acres mowed is very low, but there are negatives to owning a front mount. Namely, couple of the things that I knew about when I bought my 1445 almost a year ago, just a week shy of a year ago. I knew it had some worn parts. It had 2,000 hours on it. Now it has 2,125. Things wear. And so the purpose of this video is to talk about those wearable parts and how much they cost. For instance, the caster arms and wheels, 2 sets. So when I bought the machine, I spent almost $50 replacing, I can't remember if I did a video on it or not, replacing these bushings right here, which they're installed right there and down there. They're also on the wheels at the bottom. I spent $50 doing that, and they're wearing fine. That's exactly what they're designed to do. Those bushings are like $6 or $7 a piece, so really not all that bad. But I'm coming up on the point of needing to replace the caster arms. Well, the caster arms and the tires, if I want to do both caster arms and both tires at the same time from the dealer, it would be $580. That's for all 4 parts. Basically just completely new casters with the tires on them. $580 is a lot of money. Now, these assumably made it 2,000 hours, so on a hour basis, you're basically spending 50 cents an hour just on caster tires. But now, how many acres can you mow in an hour? I would say on good flat ground, you're probably capable of 5 acres an hour. So you're spending 10 cents an acre on caster wheels and tires. I don't think that's that bad in terms of cost. Now, that's mental math in my head. But, there are some negatives to owning some of these big front mount units, particularly if you're buying used. For instance, a deck belt's $140 to $145. One of the parts I got to replace is the little tensioner over here. That's probably another $10, $12. That's pretty cheap, relatively speaking. But the deck's starting to get some cracks in it. I have no earthly idea how old this deck is or how long they last, but I'm assuming they last quite a while. So yeah, the purpose of this video, trying to keep it somewhat short, is basically just to go over, costs associated with owning these things. So when you go out and you look at the new ones, that are the $38,000 to $50,000 or more, and you see used ones hanging out for, $5,000 to $15,000 depending on options. I'll just call that kind of a in the middle price. You wonder why they're so cheap. Relatively speaking, one of the reasons is maintenance cost. These parts wear. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's a whole lot better. I'd rather have replaceable casters than have to replace, this part right here or this main beam right here. This is relatively inexpensive, or it looks relatively inexpensive to make, but you never know. And one of the things that is super cheap on these decks, I can put the blades on these decks are $23, $24 a piece, and those are deer blades. They work great. Here's a set right here. I alternate out. I put these on last year. That's not an insignificant amount of metal right there. and they're 23 bucks a piece. So anyway, just kind of a discussion. Something I was thinking about as I was working on it. I'll get this deck back on the 1445 and we'll be good to go. And I think that's about it.